Hello, fierce ones. Welcome to our conversation series, The Fierce, Fun, and Fantastic Women Among Us, usually happening on the fourth Fridays of every month. And during this series, we connect with leaders and visionaries and wisdom keepers among us and learn about their fierce awakenings and how they are expressing their unique gifts in the world. I'm Jenn Baljko, your joy journeying guide with Always on My Way, and the moderator of our Facebook group, The Fierce Awakened Woman. Today, we're shifting our title a little bit, and we're going to call it The Fierce, Fun, and Fantastic Humans Among Us, as we welcome our first man into the conversation. Ultimately, the aim of the Facebook group and Always on My Way is to inspire fun fierceness in all of us, regardless of our gender identity. You may recognize Leon Hanekom's name. He's one of our more active members, always popping in with a little comment or an emoji. So let's put the name and the face together and welcome Leon. Hi, Leon.
Hi, my beautiful friend. And I know that me saying that is going to get lots of applause from all fun, fierce, and fantastic women among us, because you have brought the fun, fierce, and fantastic in all of us to shine our lights and give permission. Giving permission is such an important thing to do, because again, culturally, unfortunately, Jen, we see the oppression and depression for many because they haven't found the power inside themselves.
That's right.
And you've given permission. It's a big thing.
Leon, thank you, but it's people like you who keep showing up in my life who remind me that, yeah, we're just all doing this together. We're all doing this together in our own way, So before we pop in, just hold all those thoughts, because Leon, you're like a firecracker. You've got so much energy that we're going to bring into this space, because we could all use this right now, looking at the way the world is, and we're going to just blossom all of this joy that's glowing out of you. But let me tell people about you before we get too far in, because your story is always, for me, so inspiring. So let me tell you about Leon. Born in South Africa in 1959, Leon Paul Hanekom grew up living between the boundaries of attending white school and colored home, keeping the two separate from each other until migrating to Australia in 1997. His career started in sales and extended into business marketing and developing within the health industry. After 2 failed ventures, Leon decided to try the tortoise way and reestablish himself and his family financially. It was a long and tough road back to financial stability, but the lessons learned brought him to a place of clarity, peace, and contentment, in readiness for the next chapter of exploration of his life. He has a diploma in health counseling and a master's in rebuilding your life from scratch. I love that, Leon. I love it. We're definitely going to talk about that. And he has been involved in community developments in Kenya for over 22 years and is actively involved in the lives of both the South African and Kenyan communities in Australia. On a personal note, I've known Leon for years now, and he continues to inspire joy in my life. His sense of humor, his vitality, his life experience, and the love and light he carries in him and shares with us continues to make my heart smile. And just as a reminder, the name may be familiar because Leon's mother, Veronica Hanekom, was one of our featured speakers in last year's debut of the Fierce Awakened Woman Conference. And her heartwarming story, still a year on, is one of the fountains of inspiration for me. And you'll be able to watch her interview again. I'll be re-releasing these at this week at the end of March. So give yourself a few minutes to go watch her story, and you can see this beautiful, fierce, fun, and fantastic family and how they've blossomed over the years. So, Leon, hello.
Jenn,
After all that.
thank you very much for that wonderful introduction. But I have to respond by saying, that whatever we see in someone else that causes us to shine a light has been my experience. Okay. You see a bit of yourself because we are reflections of each other. And the vibration that we have, if it is the same resonance, that's when you connect. That's why you connect. That's why you feel all the emotional content associated with it, because you're seeing in that person that which you recognize in yourself.
It is
So
true, Leon. We are all mirrors for each other, aren't we?
Sure.
And you've always held that space for me, and I'm always grateful. Our conversations often take on these profound human experiences that we've lived through, and you and I have shared so many of those moments, but we always come back to this idea of finding our light, finding our joy, using that. And you use these words beautifully, the integrated and evolved human, and I always hold that close to my heart because, well, tell us your version of it, because this is part of why I am so happy you're on this series with us, because your words around this always leave me feeling, yeah, we are moving in this evolution, and how can we be part of it together? So tell us your words around that.
The words always, when they come out, is never the same as before. They are new words that come from a space of creativity, which is cosmic. So I try as best as I can not to have them formulated in the mind so that I'm thinking about how it should flow. So it's always new flowings in expressing what it is that we mean when we talk about us being evolved souls, evolved experiences on this planet. And all we need to do is to consider what it is that we are looking for in this experience. Okay? What is it that we're trying to create and balance here? And what it is that we ultimately looking for is to create, in whatever way, moments, and you know this, moments of joy. Joy. That is when we are vibrating through other words like love, compassion, care. All of those things raise us to the highest vibration where we can express ourselves in the best way we know how. But that opportunity for us to be able to do that is clouded through the experience from or through our senses. Mm-hmm. So it's about being able to distinguish the two, living with purpose. But I will clarify that a little bit, Jen, because even the word purpose for many people suggests that unless you have a direction to move in as a goal to strive or to move into, then maybe your purpose isn't so wonderful. So we need to clarify what we mean by purpose.
Thank you, Leon, because this is really like the goal-oriented societies that we live in and what we've been told. I I would love the clarification on purpose and how you use it, because I know you have a very different take on that, and how we are creating more meaning in our lives, and how we're living on purpose with not that idea of a goal and an outcome. So what's your definition today? Because I know it will come
Well,
out differently, and I'll hear it a different way even today, the way you say
yes,
it.
you will. You will. But my definition of purpose is really to understand the difference between the temporary experience you're having and the eternal part of who you are. But you need to be awake enough to be able to see this. Okay. All of us are awake, by the way, at different levels. So your awakeness is what kind of peripheral view do you have of yourself? So you can have an awakening, but your purview is just narrow. You don't know that when you're awakened, okay, initially. But that can expand and continues to expand until you have a sense of your eternal self. That is huge, okay? To even contemplate. You can say it. Yeah, but I'm part of the cosmos. I am cosmic, and whatever the cosmos is a reflection of the cosmic self inside myself. And if I turn my vision into myself, I can see my cosmic self. Wonderful words. So separating and really understanding what is the difference. So I've got a quick story. I'll try and make it quick.
Leon, at your heart, you are a storyteller. I knew it was just a matter of seconds before we launched into one of them, because uh, you have a great way of always tying this together into personal experience. So go for it. Tell us your story, Leon. Let us move closer and listen.
The story really is about identifying the difference, like I said, between understanding your cosmic self and living in that space. So when I say purpose, it's really about, if there was any particular purpose, it's for your personal expansion, of realizing that in the cosmic expansion of yourself, it's limitless. So if you address purpose from that perspective, it's infinite growth within yourself, to just explore what it means to be a cosmic being living in a physical time and space dimension where you can experience both, okay, and live effectively with both your physical self. So, but you need to identify these things. So I had an experience where I had, as I mentioned, I had my downfalls, and I lost almost everything, including the potential. I didn't, thank goodness, I didn't go bankrupt on 2 occasions, but I lost everything. Okay, came back with a minus 300-degree deficit. Okay, if I can put it that way. You're sinking. Man, you're gasping for the straw to give you breath. So this particular day, I was going to the supermarket, parked the car that my sister borrowed me, gave me, second-hand car. And for the first time I can remember in my life, I slammed the door. Bang! And I started cursing in my mind. Damn! I've always had faith at the front. And even when I took on this new venture, I said, if I trust in God and let God walk in front of me, I cannot fail. I cannot fail. with that degree of faith. Well, I failed. So I was angry. So my anger led me to saying these words in my head. Be damned with my spiritual self right now. I'm parking you, God, whatever God is for you. I'm parking you. I'm not dissing you completely. I quickly added, but I'm parking you a little bit. And now I'm getting real. I'm going to get real with my life now because I have to rebuild. I have to dig myself out of the hole. I've got some real stuff to deal with, man. So just take a part for now. I'm dealing with the immediate challenges now. I'll deal with the spiritual, by the way, I said, when I'm there. I'm all yours, man. When I'm finished with this world, I'm all yours. And as I'm still having this expression of anger at my situation and making the shift in my head, man, almost interrupting, almost if something entered into my mind and said, hold on. And this is what came over the top of me being angry. And you can imagine, when you're angry, you haven't got space to listen to anything else, okay? But there was an interruption in my thought. And the thought was, so that makes sense to you, does it? Like, what do you mean? Does that make sense to you? What you're telling me is you're going to pour all of your energy into the temporary. Do you understand that, Leon? You see, each moment is temporary. You don't know what the next moment brings. So you think that you can have better control if you just poured your energy into the temporary. How are you going to have control? You have no control. And you're going to give temporary energy, if at all anything, to what's eternal about you. So figure that out. Are you eternal or temporary? And then the message came to me. Figure that out. Give temporary energy to what is temporary, which is in the moment. But give eternal energy to that which is eternal about you. But you have to be awake enough to see it. Otherwise, the cloudiness we were talking about before is all about the pressure and the temporary nature of time and space. Time is what moves along, okay? So as you get older along this journey, you put the pressure on yourself because you say, I need to accomplish, I need to do, I need a legacy, I need all of those things. And of course, what came into my mind then was that is all your own mental rubbish. I was thinking of a kind word to say. Bullshit, all right? Because who for? Who for? Oh, your children. No, I got to leave something. Your children got their own life. Teach them how to live a great life. That's your greatest gift you can leave behind. If you want to leave a legacy, leave the legacy of how magnificent you let your own light shine onto everybody you meet. We've had lots of examples already of people who have come our way, and we write books about them, and we build temples for them, and we do all of these things. Why? Because it resonates with us. We go, oh yeah, if only I can. And then we spend not only what we create in financial success and physical success and things and stuff to show our gratitude and thanks, hoping that those things will naturally fall upon us. It's in your grasp. You already own that. The only problem is You're giving what you think is eternal energy to that which is temporary. So that's been my experience and my shift. I've got one more story just to follow up on that.
Wait,
So what changed?
hold that thought. I was going to say, how did you figure it out? I know there's another part of this story that you might be going into about how that shifted too, but how did you take that information in this space of anger, right? Because when you're in that space of anger where you're not listening and you're shutting everything out,
that's what I'm trying to express.
because you need to be in that anger also, like to express the anger fully has to happen, or it becomes rage, right? It escalates into something else,
I
right?
was in rage.
You
Like I
were,
said,
and you were,
knocking the door
you
and
were
yelling in my
already,
mind.
yeah,
I was furious, and you can understand. I'm
yeah,
furious. Why? My life has just turned to shit. Okay, and with all of these attempts and all of these things, why can't something work for me? Especially if I put faith in front of me. But what happened was, okay, this interrupting voice, the only way I can think of it is the difference between being open to cosmic information and having some intervention into your own mind and thought process, which is physical. So many people may call that different things, divine intervention, whatever you want to call it. But it brought, because I was having that conversation and it came like that, as I described, like, does this make sense to you? In my rage, does this make sense to you? And it forced me to think about what I was saying. Okay. And then the other thoughts came. You're giving all this energy to what is temporary. So that was the key change. Okay. The key words. You do know your life is temporary, don't you? Not only is your life temporary, each moment is temporary. So figure this out. It's temporary. Just love it for what it is. But you, as a spirit, is eternal. Why? Because you understand the process. That when you drop your body, it is something you have a relationship with, that you understand that you are, and you've had an experience, Leon, of the door opening to show you this. So you should know this for sure. When you drop your body, you are not finished. Okay? You then join the all. And what is the all? It's very difficult to explain to people what infinite cosmic allness is. Okay? You join that. That's where you came from. That's where you return. I'm not the only one to say this, okay? But because I've had the personal experience of this, obviously, I can tell you now, the cloud and the distractions that happen in life make you reconsider this. Okay? Oh, yeah. But the temporary things are happening and I have to deal with what's happening here now. And I do have a life to live, and I do have family, and I do have things I want to achieve. And all of these things interrupt your thinking, which you can have. But of course, the difference for me is that I understand now that you can have all of that energy put into the temporary, but just know it's temporary. That's all. That's the only change you need to have. It's temporary. All the desire and all this control that you want to have in direction. We've had many, many billions of souls come here and move. There's no magnificent structure that represents the hardship, the struggle, the goal setting of these people. Okay? They've come and they're gone. Billions and billions of them. Okay? So just recognize that perspective is magnificent when you can get this perspective between what is eternal part of who you are and what is the physical part of who you are. And what is physical about you is exchanged in the information through your senses. Your senses are limited to 5. Think of the number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is that correct? I
Cinco.
don't know.
Cinc in Catalan.
Whatever. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 senses. Now just think for a moment cosmically. Do you think that possibly there is more dimensions than your 5 physical senses that are feeding you information into your brain, which you are making and turning into your reality for the world that you live in? That's what drives you.
Well, we'd be remiss to say, we have to say the 6th sense of intuition, I suppose, right?
If you're awake, absolutely.
Because we can't ignore, like, that's the one we never seem to really pay attention to, right? We have a lot of visual input, a lot of hearing and maybe not listening, but hearing input, and, touch and taste and smell. But I am hopeful that we are growing our 6th sense so that it becomes a more expressed part of who we are. I think it's that intuition that, there was an intuition for you that came, and it's what caused a pivot and an aha moment, right? Like it's when we can grab that flash that's offered to us and say, okay, I'm going to figure this out. And I'm not going to keep throwing myself into the river, pushing it as if I'm in control of all of life. It is a hard lesson, Leon. It is a hard thing to shift.
You're absolutely right. And the 6th sense, for me, in my experience, is a dimension that is, for me, is not compatible with your 5 senses.
How so?
Okay. Because your 5 senses are very active, if I can put it that way, into feeding into your brain, in the way you think. And the accumulation of that, for example, is a physical part of you. When you were born, no information. Then you started gathering it through your senses. Okay, this has become a very big part of how you engage with the world. Necessary, all the different parts of your brain act differently to be able to give you all the skills you require to be able to engage on this planet in a physical way. Okay, so that's where your senses come in, and they really do have a limiting function. What I mean by that is all the data that you gather, all right, through your eyesight, your ears, your smell, taste, and touch, all of that is stored and then used, even though we think we are critical thinkers, all right? And we can easily make different decisions based on what's happened. And, confirmation bias doesn't really exist for me because I can think logically, all right? But here's the thing that we're beginning to understand a little bit more about is, if I had to show your brain and then show you a map of how your thinking is mapped in your brain, a lot of that, I don't know the percentage, can't give it to you, but a lot of your thinking is predetermined based on the data that you've collected through your 5 senses in this one computer-like space of your brain. Okay. Now we know we can alter that by going into the brain and altering different connections. All of a sudden we can change who you are, who you even perceive as yourself by interfering with that. But all I'm trying to say is that that's 5 sense based. 6 sense, from what I'm talking about, okay, in my experience, is the window to the cosmic you. Yes, some of that comes into and through your mind and your brain and becomes part of how it's wired. Yes, so it has a role like that, but you can shift. Like when we started, Jim. Sorry about the noise there.
Yeah, it's life.
When we started, of course, what we were talking about is trying to separate the brain thinking and invite in the cosmic thinking, the all knowing, so that you're not thinking. And that sixth sense is responding to everything from a much higher level of vibration. I don't claim to be a master in this at all. I'm sharing how I have come to understand. Here I go. And I have to keep it together for you, madam. Is when you live from that space, I've shared this with you before, holding back the tears is almost impossible for me. And here is why. And thanks for asking that question one day. So why do you cry, Leon? Why do you cry? And it really is the cosmic connection. The cosmic connection is that you understand that you are in a physical body, in a physical place, in a physical space here, moving through time. Those two components of time and space exist only here. And that's what brings in pressure. So when you get to live from a cosmic perspective, it gives you a different perspective. It gives you a freedom. It gives you a wonderful love for everything. And my tears come from this overwhelming love for everything. Just love for everything. So what about disease? What about the things like war? How can you love that? Okay. So here's a cosmic answer for a
I was going to
physical.
ask you, do you have a practice that will lead to this cosmic answer? And you were reading my mind on that. This is what happens when Leon and I talk. We have these conversations that kind of just follow strings of
Yes.
thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, Jen. So this is where perspective is so important. So important. Understanding the temporary and understanding the cosmic. You see, when you understand that your lifespan here, all of the people going through what they're going through now, it's not death that is the challenge. It's the way we die, that we emotionally connect and say, isn't that awful? Was it that tragic how that person died? Okay, for us, because again, it involves the senses, an emotional content that we have associated with it. So that's why when it becomes closer to our experience, somebody we know, it's heightened. Oh my God, it happened to somebody I knew. Oh, my mother, my sister, my brother, my cousin, whatever. That intensifies the emotional content. A perspective is what brings that into a zone of acceptance. So how do you love that? In a cosmic field, in a cosmic sense, you see it in a cosmic way. So what do you see? You see, okay, this is a temporary evolution in time and space where these things are happening and will happen and can happen. But in the scheme of a cosmic event, it's my interpretation of it that makes it seem emotionally so dramatic. So has there ever been, throughout this planet's existence, in the cosmos, tragic events?
Of course.
What about the dinosaurs? What happened there? Is there any emotional content there? Probably not, because it's just species. But what if I told you that they were sentient beings that really had a response to what was happening? You see, so what I'm trying to distinguish really is human emotional content and where you place it, and a cosmic thinking, a cosmic idea. When you connect it to all, of course you can have great intent and shine your light wherever you can, like we're doing now, in the same space and zone where other people are having tragic events. But if you're leading me down another path now, which says you will see what you look at, okay, not just from an eye perspective, all right? But if you can open your mind and your spirit and yourself to a cosmic space, you will see what you look at. What are you looking at? See, life is beautiful. Life is magnificent. It's everywhere. Our mind, we think, is the pinnacle of all intelligence. That's what we think. So how well are we doing running this planet?
Good question.
Do we consider other species and other creatures on this planet as not as evolved as us? Because think about the because, okay? Why would a dolphin, for example, be less intelligent than you? On what scale are you using that? You're using it on a scale. Oh, well, they haven't been able to create what we can. And look what we've done. Look, we got technology. Look what we're doing, man. Dolphins don't do that. Dolphins can't do what we've done. So what has it taken to abuse the planet for us to be able to do this? And maybe I'm just putting this as a question, something to ponder. What if the dolphin is so evolved? Just as a question, I don't know the answer to this. But in a cosmic sense, they don't need to. Why would you change, develop, grow, expand, thrive, strive, be goal-oriented and create a legacy that you're going to leave behind because you feel like you have to? What if you were just so peaceful and so contented and so alive with whatever is happening in your life that you see everything as magnificent and beautiful, like maybe a dolphin does or an elephant does, or maybe an ant or a bee? Maybe, just maybe. I asked the question.
Thank you, Leon. I was going to ask you, what is your wish, as we bring this to a close, for all of us, for those of us listening, for those of us who are listening to the recording or who will come back to it, that this idea of just living your magnificent life, that feels like a wish that we can carry out there. But what are your words for the wish that you'll send out to people?
Yes, thank you, Jen, for a wonderful, wonderful question to end this on. And we touched on it before when you spoke about permission. See, permission is allowing yourself to see yourself as magnificent, magnificent, incredible creation that has unending, infinite ability to be able to see much further than you can see now. If you open yourself up to this idea that your physical relationship with the planet here is temporary, bless it, bless all the moments that you have here, but you're much more than that. So just put it in perspective for yourself. If you could do that, then you'll be able to do what I experience, which is joy and tears most of my days, most of my life. And what I've discovered also is what many, many people have spoken about before is that the law of attraction is that what you look at is what you get to see. And what you get to see, you get to experience. So be very careful what you're looking at. If you're looking at what is not, then that's what you'll see more of. If what you look at is war, you don't ignore it. Please don't think I'm saying that. You don't turn a blind eye to it. Okay? Acknowledge it, see it for what it is, understand what your power to influence is. And if your power is to influence through raising your energetic vibration to share and show love, do that, because what you see will expand. It's the law of energy. Energy cannot be destroyed or created. It can only be transferred and transformed. So transfer and transform the energy in the areas that would be for you the way that you want to experience your life. Be careful where you look. Look at the things that you want to desire for experiencing in your life. And the cosmos is there for you to do that. Have a cosmic life.
Thank you, Leon. Thank you for being here, and thank you for saying, well, thank you for volunteering, and then saying yes also to the invitation and the volunteering.
It's an absolute pleasure. And I did have an intention of saying, fierce, fun, and fantastic. There is another side to me. If you had to see it, it's not just serious and contemplative and spiritual. I bring that into my joy in doing all of the things that many, many people enjoy on the planet. So bring your joy wherever you go.
No, and that is where the fierce and fun, fantastic human and all of us, we always may not access the joy, but it's always just it's right there. And you help us remember that. You help us remember that the joy is right there. And what we see and what we look at is part of that. It's part of our joy equation. So
absolutely. Continue to let your light shine. You're a beautiful, wonderful friend. And I'm so joy-filled that I get to call you friend.
Same, Leon. Thank you, thank you, thank you.